Hello and welcome to Warhammer Wednesday. This week I'm pleased to bring you my review of Shadow War Armageddon. Not Shadow War, War for Armageddon or anything like that. As you can see there, it's the eternal struggle between light and dark. You can decide which is light and which is dark, but either way, I hope you've had a fantastic Easter. So a few things to update you on, first of all, before I get into the review. One is, if you haven't watched my Q&A video, I recommend you do so, because it gives you the opportunity as a subscriber, as a viewer, to put forward any questions you might have. Secondly, I mentioned that I'm going to be attending Warhammer Fest. I'll be milling about there, so if you see me, stop and say hi. Also, the other review video that will be out today will be of the Legio Custodes Gerfalcon pattern jet bike, or exclusively the Agamatus jet bike squadron. So that's the other sort of sister video to this today. So the battle has been won and the Space Marine has eaten the demonic presence. One of these sets will set you back £80, and I think that's quite good value, because the box behind it is a very good box. Excellent for a new bits box or just for storing models. It's got a good depth to it and really quite sturdy. So in my eyes, that's got sort of like a little bonus thing that you get. The rule book is fantastic, 120 pages or so. I'll go through that towards the end of the video. Now, building the scenery, absolute pain. The back of the box doesn't help, and neither does the instruction manual itself. I mean, for starters, can you spot the elephant in the room there? Well, one, it's got 2 stacks, it's got 2 of those as well. It's a bit of a mess. It was quite light as well. I don't know why it was light. And then that shows you how to build it in a similar sort of way to the White Dwarf one. And then it sort of just leaves you. I would have liked them to have shown more examples of being built and things. In fact, the guide in the White Dwarf goes through it much better, I think. Here you go. Look, so it explains in one place to use these sort of brackets between the platforms. That's it. It doesn't say, oh, you definitely need to use 3. It just shows you once that you need to do that. And it doesn't show you all these different walkways and things that you can make in the instructions, which would have been useful. Yeah, this goes into it much more of a detail than the instruction book. And it says, you are tempted, because you get quite a few spare parts left over. You're quite tempted to build these without gluing them, but it does put stress on them. So it's better to stick them together. And this is the thing, this set does give you plenty of options if you wanted to do that. I haven't glued a lot of these parts, so this stack, as you see, is not glued on. So that gives me the option of using that as a separate piece on a board. Likewise that. The ladders, you don't need to glue them, even though I don't think that actually provides much stress to that port. And you can put the ladders pretty much anywhere, look. And look, these are the supporting struts that you should really glue. But yeah, this will only work with this round generator or whatever it is, furnace thing. It'll only work if that's laid on there. It just won't support itself on its own weight, if that makes sense. However, you can use this as a separate sort of scenery piece and have that as something like that, like a tower or something. I mean, the scenery is huge. I mean, 2 of these kits would really dominate your battlefield, I think. So yeah, I haven't glued these parts. It's up to you if you want to. I mean, you could even glue this whole section as it is and spray it. But I think in gaming terms, I think it's better to leave it unglued, because then that gives you the option of just changing your battlefield, because it's only sort of 2 squads. It gives you that option of changing your battlefield every time you play. These are all not glued, look. But yeah, as I say, size-wise, look at it compared to the new Moritat. What I'll do is I'll just put all the models from the set on there. I haven't built them all yet, but I already had Orcs and Scouts already built and painted with my 2 armies, so I'll just do that now.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
There we go. I've got a few miniatures and things on there, and it's all kicking off. I mean, the models on the left, the Scouts, aren't the new Scouts. The new Scouts sort of look like that. They're plastic. The ones I've got there are all metal, but you sort of get the picture. The Orcs are the same though, except for that knob at the front. He's all metal, so that's a hard knob at the front. I've got 10 Scouts over there and 10 Orcs and a big knob. So that just provides an example of 2 little sort of kill teams and things on the scenery. Yeah, it'd be nice on a mat maybe, or plastic terrain board, and have this in the centre as a focal point. I think it definitely fit on a 1 tile. You could even have a game just on the 1 tile with this and maybe a couple of little structures around it, and then just fight on this. And I don't think it's that difficult to paint. You could spend as long or as little as you like painting this. The one in White Dwarf is painted to a very high standard, almost like your miniatures. I think probably what I'd do is spray it all silver, or red, or a base colour, and then wash it, and then pick out a few details. I don't think I'd go into the same depth as these guys do. And what I mean by that is, look at all that like metal detail. Even the wires within the grooves, they've really, look at all that detail, and the shading, and then the outlines. They've gone into a lot of detail, and then even for this rust, they put a grelin earth to represent cracked enamel. So they've gone into a huge amount of detail on the kit. The kit took me longer than I thought it would, and that's mainly because, well, 1, it is plastic. 2, it's made in China, like most of their scenery kits, which is a pain, because they use the cheaper plastic, which isn't as good quality as the miniatures, and as a result of that, their moulds are cheaper, and there's a lot of mould lines, so much so that I think that GW should bundle a free file in with this, a rough file, not the smooth ones that you use for the mould lines on your miniatures, because there was an awful lot of mould lines everywhere, specifically on the ladders, and even on these fences or gantry barriers, whatever you want to call them. Each side has a mould line, even in there. I mean, it's an absolute nightmare. It took a long time just to file it all off, and you can see a load of dust on there from it. So just bear that in mind, that it's going to take you longer than you think. You can't really get this box out, glue all the parts together, and then you're done. You've really got to, file all the pieces down. And if you get 2 sets, then yeah, you could make a 2-tier. The infantry models are, as usual anyway, they're old models in the set, over 10 years old each, the Orcs and the Space Marine Scouts, but they're still quite good models, and I think one of the main reasons people will get this is for the rule book, so that they can play games on terrain like this, and also the scenery. The models, hopefully, many people have those sort of kill team type models in their collection. I've got an Eldar army and a small little Chaos army, and Genestealer cults as well, so I could quite easily just incorporate those into this and play little skirmishes with 10 troops versus 10 troops. So what I'll do now is I'll just get onto a little bit of a review of this this book here. So the Shadow War Armageddon book, it does have like 10 or so pages of lore behind Armageddon and everything that's gone on in the past, and the battle for Acheron, which is the huge hive And then you've got, you know, it tells you about the structure of a hive and all the rest of it. Absolutely huge things. And then it describes the core rules and how you use the templates as well. It's quite straightforward. Basically, the sequence of turns is that you have your turn, and then the opponent has their turn, and so on. In each turn, there are 4 phases. You've got the movement, the shooting, hand-to-hand, and then recovery. And basically, recovery is where they can regain their nerve if they're taken fire or to recover injuries. So they're the phases within the turn, and then there's other orders within the movement phase. So you've got charges, compulsory moves, and then rest, move, and then running, charging. You can charge multiple enemies, moving off the battlefield, and silent weapons, and then hiding as well. One thing I forgot to mention is that the kit does have 6 ladders in total. 3 of these thicker ladders, well, when I mean thicker is that the gaps between them are smaller, and 3 sort of standard ladders. They're a pain to file down as well, and you can just pop them up anywhere on the old scenery piece. So then you've got terrain, and it gives you an example of the different types of terrain. So you've got everything from open ground to walls, impassable, very difficult, wobbly model syndrome, walls and barriers. Yeah, so it talks to you about the terrain. And then the shooting. Each fighter can shoot once in the shooting phase, as long as they can see a target and have the suitable weapon or supply of grenades. They can shoot even if they've moved, but they can't if they've run. And they can shoot in any direction. You know, they're scanning around, looking for threats, but obviously fighters in basic contact with enemy can't shoot. Then you've got line of sight, and there's an example right here. Closest target is A, but it's skewed over cover, and it's more difficult than B, C, and D. Shooter can target B since he's closer, even though he's further away from A. So basically, the closest sort of target that's easier to closest sort of target that's easier to hit, that is the preferred one. Then you've got range. There's a range of all the weapons there, so a little bit different than normal. It doesn't explain how you're going to measure this, because it doesn't have any measuring sticks or anything like that, so you're going to have to get a ruler or a tape measure or something like that along with this game. Would have been nice if they had some whippy sticks or some, I don't know, some green sort of Necron coloured distance markers maybe, but that's obviously not in the budget for the set. Then you've got hit modifiers. Some shots are easier to hit than others, and you get -1, -2 is for cover, -1 for charging. If there's a large target where the model is 2 inches tall or wide, such as tanks and things like that. And then different weapons are sensitive to range. And then you've got a hit in the target, that's the D6 score that you need. Ballistic skill of shooter look -3. Cover, partial cover, and then in open ground gives you examples of that. And then wounding the target, save and throws, and then invulnerable saves. Injuries, so you've got flesh wound. This is pretty cool. You've got flesh wound, 2 to 5 is they're down, they're barely conscious, and then 6 is out of action. They've been badly wounded and falls to the ground unconscious. So they're not dead, they're just out of action. Multiple wounds, high impact and pin fighters. Shooting into hand-to-hand combat, ammo rolls, overwatch, sustained shooting, blast weapons, flamer template. So they really do go into depth about this new rule set. Parrying, fumbles, special injuries, and then leadership. So there's a lot to take in for this game that only includes sort of like 10 or 20 models. Then you've got advanced rules as well. You know, like exploding weapons, attacking terrain features, fear, terror, hatred, frenzy, and then armoury. So you've got all the weapons. So they've changed a lot of these with the different modifiers. Hand-to-hand combat weapons operate differently and have a different number of attacks. Then you've got special weapons, grenades, and then creating a kill team. So you pick a leader. Then you've got sort of like data sheets really for like a Space Marine Scout kill team, which consists of a leader, and then normal scout. Then you can have a novitiate, I think that's how you say novitiate. I can't say it. Newest scouts, and then scout gunner. So it's got scouts, it's got Astra Militarum or Imperial Guard, and then it's got orcs. And like I said before, a bit odd that they don't just have normal Space Marines, but then I think in this game Space Marines are seen as sort of very elite. I love how Orc Boy kill teams. You've got a Knob, a Boy, a Youth, and a Spanner Boy. No Gretchen though. It would have been nice to have a few Gretchen on here. And then it just goes on to, you know, the different kill teams and a bit of a summary and a showcase of them. Then you've got some missions, quite a few missions there. Then campaigns, and with your campaigns, you've got all these skills whereby, you know, you can add, you know, you can have your kill team and put all of your characteristics for them. And then you've got special operatives, which I found very interesting, because you can have like a Space Marine veteran or a Terminator even, flash kit for orcs, and then you've got Astra Militarum special objectives. And then you've got some reference as well, and then you've got some profiles too. So there you go, very, very in-depth, sort of a rewriting of the 40k rules almost, in this book. A lot to get your head around, because it is a new gaming system. If you're used to 40k, you'll be sort of used to this, but there are quite a few new things that they've introduced, and it's just not a dumbing down, but it's a similar sort of game, but on a much smaller scale, where you have just got 2 squads fighting it out. But as you can see, there's still a lot of rules to sort of think about, and a lot of different factors just to get a game with 10. But it definitely focuses on small squads, and how like a Terminator could make all the difference. It does remind me of the Genestealer Cult game, definitely, but a lot less to sort of think about in terms of, with that, each sort of Space Marine was a character, and they had their different attributes and different weapons and things. At least with this, they usually have got the same weapon or very similar weapons around them. So that's what it reminds me of, but you've got this big scenery piece to play around with. And if all else fails, you've got 10 scouts in the box and 10 orc. You could sell either one of those or give them away to your mate, and you've got an epic bit of scenery that you can use in your normal 40k battles. And I think for sort of £80, that's pretty decent. One thing I will say in regards to this book is they are actually releasing a hardback version of this book with all of the other army factions, and I think that will, if you've had this set, or if you can't get this set and you want to buy some of the scenery kits separately, I think the hardback book coming out is pretty much a must buy if you want to play these small skirmish battles. And it's a great starting point for Warhammer 40k as well, in my opinion, because you buy this set and you can have little battles straight away with just, you know, 20 troops or whatnot, and then you can grow your army. You know, you can buy a tile and then play some games on that. You can reinforce in your army and have in larger scales, and then eventually work up to sort of 40k. So I hope this review has been useful for you. Let me know what you think about the set. Thank you ever so much for joining me today. Thank you for watching. The Emperor Protects.